Everyone, Dennis and
Stephanie.
so we're here again today answering your questions. First of all, thanks a lot for sending those in. We appreciate that. In the last video we did, we talked about whether or not we got island fever. And the answer was...
You have to tune in to find out.
Yeah, go watch the other video. So another big question we've been getting for people that are not familiar with Belize or have heard about hurricanes, and not only in Belize, but how they affect the Caribbean and Texas and Florida. And if you're not from those areas, or if you haven't spent time in those southern states or the Caribbean, hurricanes might be on your mind.
They were on my mind. I was afraid.
Yeah. So it's strange, not strange. Strange isn't the right word, but it's interesting how many natural disasters come unexpectedly. You have hurricanes, maybe the fires in California. Tornadoes arise unexpectedly. Hurricanes are the only natural disaster that give you like a 5-day warning that they're going to come close to where you're at. Yeah. So maybe you can explain to people why we were concerned at first, but what happened during a couple hurricanes that did come our way and just how we dealt with it.
Well, I was concerned because, like everyone, I watch the Weather Channel and I see Jim Cantore, and you're like, oh no, if he comes to our area, we better, make those last calls and tell everyone goodbye. But because we had additional time, what we would do is, it sounds trivializing it, but it actually gave us some time to get away. So I didn't mind it at all because we were able enough to get off the island. Everyone was able to get off the island. No one was in danger. So we would actually go to the Cayii district, and they had some beautiful resorts there in the mountains, and you're on the edge of Belize and Guatemala, and you're able to, even as it's raining, or sometimes it's not even raining, you're that far away, that we would do cave tubing or, the things that you can do over there.
So as a hurricane is hitting, you're cave tubing, vacationing. All right, so let me explain.
With friends.
Let me explain a little more how this works. That sounds too good to be true, but
for me, that's what
it is true. Here's the thing: in a hurricane, there are two things that cause damage to either your home or property, or that could hurt you. Number one is the wind. Number two is the storm surge. If you notice, Ambergris Caye sits on the second longest barrier reef in the world. We don't get the storm surge that you get like in Cancun, Florida, Texas, where you have those deep oceans that lead right up to the shore in New Orleans. And so when you have that deep water just offshore, then you have big storm surge that can come in and just wreak havoc. Because Ambergris Caye is protected by this huge wall called the second largest barrier reef, the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, we don't get the storm surge. So then you got to worry about wind. Well, we build to withstand the wind. So we have solid structures that are built to withstand hurricanes. Now here's the thing, even though we're not so concerned about our homes, it's still not wise to stay on island if you have a big hurricane coming.
There are some people who take a badge of honor, and they're like that in Florida, they're like that in many other places. I personally value my life, even if there's a 5% chance that I could get hurt, I will leave because we're able to. So we really prefer to leave and then come back, and usually nothing has ever happened to us.
No. So there's 2 times we had to evacuate. So we saw the hurricane out there. It was spinning. And what happened is the entire island evacuates. So every water taxi, every tropic air flight, every Maya airplane comes. They get everybody off the island. A lot of the local islanders go to family and friends' homes on the mainland. Like Steph said, we'll fly to Belize City, but then make our way to Cayii, to San Ignacio. You think, well, what's San Ignacio? Well, first of all, it only takes about an hour and a half to get there from the island. And once you're in there, you're up in the hills. So you don't have to worry about flooding. You don't have to worry about the wind because it's far enough away from the coast. And of course, there's no storm surge. So like she said, we would check ourselves into a mountain resort like Windy Hill or somewhere like that.
A little casita?
Yeah, and we would just hold up. So what happens is we're there for maybe 3-4 nights. And then by that time, the hurricane has either gone through, it's either hit Ambergris Caye and moved on, in which case we can call Ambergris Caye. We'll find out, does it have power, does it have water, what's going on. If everything's safe, we come back. But if everything is not so good, let's say they lose power for 2 weeks. Do you want to stay in an apartment with no AC for 2 weeks?
Not really.
Yeah, exactly. So what I tell people is always leave. You can always come back, but always leave. And you might just put that in your budget. Like what we had is we had something called a hurricane fund. So every time we made a sale, we put a few $100 away, and we had a little pocket of money so that when a disaster struck, it was almost like a little emergency kit.
It's a literal rainy day fund.
Literal rainy day fund. Oh my God, that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it on hurricanes. Now the technical side, or the boring side, is that most hurricanes that come across the Caribbean end up shooting up northward and they hit Cancun or the United States. So, for example, if you just type in this in your Google search bar, all hurricanes in the last 20 years, and you look at all the paths, you see most of them go north. You see a few do head toward Belize, but they are more rare. So
even when we watch, we'll watch them coming and be like, oh, we're for sure going to get it. They always would go and not hit us.
Yeah.
Sometimes Cancun would grab it, but I don't know if it's the barrier reef or what. But even if they're forecasting it to come, a lot of times it doesn't come. So you just watch the Weather Channel. You know, everything is on the TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the internet. And we were always safe and happy. And it was a lot less stressful than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be really scary because I've seen people in Florida. My family lives in Florida. And a lot of the damage that's happened there. And it's not been as bad as I thought it would be.
Right. So when you consider this, say, look, you know, if you have any concerns about going to Ambergris Caye, just let me just give you some examples here. How many people right now are flocking to places like West Palm Beach, Florida, Port St. Lucie, Miami, Hollywood, Florida? I mean, those areas are a draw for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people from the northern states getting out of the cold. They're moving into those areas. Those areas have a much higher percentage of hurricanes and more damaging hurricanes. What I like about living on Ambergris Caye, and here's something too everybody doesn't realize. Let's say you're looking at Ambergris Caye compared to other Caribbean islands, like maybe the Cayman Islands, or maybe you like Port St. Lucia, something like that. And you're thinking, you know, what are those islands? How do they compare with Ambergris Caye? Well, here's the thing. All those islands also have a high percentage of getting struck by a hurricane. But with those islands, you can't leave them easily. For example, once that last American Airlines flight heads back to the U.S., it's not going to come back for you. So there's been times where we're safe in the Cayii district, or we're watching on the news how many thousands of people were stuck in the Jamaica airports and all these different airports. Tourists are literally sleeping in the airports. They can't leave the country, and then they get hit. And then what? On Ambergris Caye, we can always leave the island. We're never in danger of getting stuck there if we're sensible and just watch the news and leave before it gets very close.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, so anything to add on Hurricane Watch?
It was something I had no understanding of because I grew up in Michigan, and I really thought it was going to be in the forefront of my mind because I'm definitely prepared for most things, and I try to be prepared, but it underwhelmed me as much as I thought I was going to be worried about it. It wasn't as bad as I expected. I looked forward to the little bit of a break. Fortunately, we didn't have any hurricanes that caused deaths or major property damage or anything that caused it to be a huge reality check. It ended up being okay for us. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah. And as a realtor speaking now, you get hurricane insurance on your home. So whether it's a wood home, a concrete home, a container home, you get all perils insurance. So it covers earthquakes, hurricanes, floods. If a plane crashes into your home, it covers it. All perils means all perils. So just protect your investment and you're all set.
Mm-hmm. And you have much time to protect your life. So it works out.
Good. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the question. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.